He didn't live in a house. He didn't know what a warm bed felt like. His home was a place carved by grief and death, the tombs where bodies were laid to rest, and silence ruled the night. But for him, there was no silence. His screams echoed across the hills after dark, sending fear through anyone who heard them. He cried out in pain, not because of wounds others could see, but because something inside him was tearing him apart. With jagged stones, he cut his own flesh, trying to escape a torment that never slept. The people tried to stop him. They wrapped chains around his arms and legs, shackles meant to restrain a wild man. But he snapped them again and again, as if iron were nothing. No one could control him. No one could help him. He became a living nightmare, a warning whispered in fear. Until one day, everything changed. A boat reached the shore, and when Jesus stepped onto the land, the darkness inside this man began to tremble. Before Jesus ever came face to face with the man living among the tombs, he was already moving toward him, even though the journey itself would be dangerous. As Jesus and his disciples set out across the sea, the sky suddenly darkened and a violent storm rose without warning. The wind howled with terrifying force, whipping the water into towering waves that crashed relentlessly against the boat. Each wave poured more water inside, making the vessel feel heavy and unstable, as if it might sink at any moment. The night was chaotic, loud and merciless, and the sea seemed determined to swallow them whole. These were not inexperienced men. The disciples were fishermen who had spent their lives on these waters. They understood storms, knew their patterns, and had survived many before. Yet this one was different. Fear gripped their hearts as they struggled to keep control of the boat, convinced that death was drawing near. Their hands shook, their voices rose in panic, and hope seemed to slip away with every crashing wave. In the middle of the chaos, Jesus stood apart from their fear. While panic filled the boat, he remained calm, untouched by the storm's fury. Then Jesus spoke, not to the disciples, not in fear, but directly to the storm itself. With a voice filled with absolute authority, he commanded the wind to be silent and the waves to be still. Instantly, the raging sea obeyed him. The wind fell quiet, the water settled. Where chaos had ruled moments before, complete peace now remained. This was no coincidence and no random display of power. Jesus did not calm the storm merely to save a boat. He crossed that violent sea because on the other side waited a single broken soul, a man trapped in darkness, abandoned by people, but never forgotten by heaven. The land where Jesus arrived was a place marked by silence and sorrow, known for its tombs, dark caves carved deep into stone, where the dead were laid to rest and mourning lingered in the air. It was a place people avoided, a place associated with loss and fear. And yet, among those graves lived a man who had become more familiar with death than with life. Day and night he wandered through the burial grounds, surrounded by cold stone and decaying reminders of the past, crying out in anguish that echoed through the hills. His voice carried pain, rage, and despair, the sound of a soul in constant torment. He was completely isolated from society. Families avoided him. Children were warned about him. His dignity was stripped away, and his humanity was slowly erased. The torment inside him never rested. His pain was unending, and his mind had become a battlefield where darkness ruled without mercy. In moments of agony, he cut himself with stones, his wounds reflecting the deeper wounds no one could see. He was alive, yet trapped in a living death, existing among the tombs as though he no longer belonged in the world of the living. The people of the region did not ignore him at first. They tried everything they knew to do. They restrained him with chains and shackles, believing that physical strength could contain the madness within him. Again and again, they bound him tightly, hoping this time it would hold. But each attempt ended the same way. The chains snapped, the shackles shattered, torn apart by a force far greater than human strength. No one was strong enough to subdue him. No one could reach the man buried beneath the torment. Over time, hope faded and fear took its place. Eventually, he became more than a man in pain. He became a symbol of hopelessness, a warning whispered in fear, a reminder of darkness people did not want to face. He was a living man dwelling among the dead, rejected by society and left alone in his suffering. Yet even in that forgotten place, Among tombs and shadows, he was not forgotten by God. When Jesus stepped onto the shore, the man saw him from far away, and instead of running to hide or attack in rage, the man ran straight toward Jesus. Every step carried years of torment, fear, and pain. He fell at Jesus' feet, and suddenly a voice erupted. Not one voice, but many speaking as one. "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Do not torture me." The demons recognized him immediately. They knew his authority. They knew his power. Darkness always knows when true light has arrived. While the people feared the man and the disciples were still learning who Jesus truly was, the demons already understood. Their rule was ending. Jesus asked a question that cut straight to the heart of the torment. "What is your name?" And the answer revealed the depth of the nightmare. "My name is Legion, for we are many." A Roman legion represented thousands of soldiers, disciplined and overwhelming in force. This man was not oppressed by a single demon, but possessed by an army. Yet even an army of darkness stood powerless before Jesus. The demons begged him not to send them into destruction, pleading desperately for permission to enter a nearby herd of pigs. They could not act without his consent. Authority belonged to Jesus alone. With a single command, Jesus granted permission, and chaos erupted instantly. The demons fled from the man and entered the herd of pigs, which suddenly panicked and lost all control. The animals rushed down the steep hillside, driven by a force they could not resist, and plunged into the lake below. The water churned violently as the entire herd drowned and disappeared beneath the surface. And then something incredible happened. Silence. The screaming stopped. The torment ended. The chains that fear had forged were gone. In one moment, Jesus accomplished what no human effort ever could. The man was free. When the townspeople finally arrived at the scene, they came expecting disorder, violence, and madness. The same terrifying chaos they had known for years. They had prepared themselves to witness the man screaming among the tombs, breaking chains and raging uncontrollably. But what they saw stopped them in their tracks. There was no shouting, no destruction, no fear-filled frenzy. Instead, there was an unsettling calm that hung over the place where chaos once ruled. The man who had once terrified the entire region was sitting quietly at the feet of Jesus. The same man who had shattered iron chains with ease now sat still and composed, his body relaxed, his eyes clear. He was clothed, no longer exposed or humiliated, his dignity restored. His breathing was steady, his movements were gentle. For the first time in years, his mind was no longer a battlefield. The torment had ended, his spirit was healed, and peace had replaced the darkness that once consumed him. The people could hardly believe what they were seeing. This was the man they feared most, the one they warned their children about, the one they avoided at all costs. Yet now he looked completely different, not just on the outside, but in his very presence. The wildness was gone. The pain was gone. In its place stood a living testimony of transformation. The change was undeniable in a way that no explanation could erase. Yet instead of celebrating this miracle, fear gripped the hearts of the people. They were not afraid of the man anymore. They were afraid of the power that had changed him. They had witnessed authority beyond human understanding, a power that could restore what seemed permanently broken. This miracle challenged their sense of control, their comfort, and their expectations. And that power unsettled them far more deeply than the demons ever had. The loss of the pigs deeply disturbed the community. But what unsettled them even more was the power they had just witnessed. They had seen something they could not explain, control, or contain. An authority that went far beyond human strength or understanding. Instead of rejoicing over a life restored, fear quietly took hold of their hearts. The presence of such power made them uncomfortable, and rather than inviting Jesus to remain among them, they asked him to leave their region. As Jesus prepared to return to the boat, the man who had been healed approached him with urgency. He begged to go with him, desperate not to return to the place that had once rejected and feared him. He longed to stay near the one who had given him back his life. But Jesus had a greater purpose for him. Instead of allowing him to follow, Jesus sent him home with a mission: to tell his own people how much the Lord had done for him, and how mercy had transformed his life. In that moment, a powerful calling was born. The first messenger to that region was not a trained scholar or one of the disciples, but a man who had once been possessed, isolated, and broken. Now redeemed and restored, he became living proof that no one is beyond hope and no life is too far gone to be changed. This story is not just about demons being cast out. It is about hope where none seemed possible. A man everyone had abandoned was restored in a moment. Chains that human strength could not break fell apart at the word of Jesus. No one is too lost. No darkness is too deep. No life is beyond redemption. Because the same power that calmed the storm still reaches the broken, still confronts darkness, and still sets captives free. If this video resonates with you, be sure to like and subscribe for more cinematic Bible stories and inspiring Bible messages. Comment, Amen if you stand with God. Thanks for watching.